Chill Computer Guy here. We are in Bitwig Studio 3. Hoping everybody had a nice day. It was nice and sunny out. I just got done mowing the lawn and whatnot. And I even got a little walk to the graveyard. It's a 2-mile walk. I like to get a walk in. This is, of course, my Sunday. I have Sunday, Monday off at work, so Monday's the night that I try to record these videos, and then it's back off to work tomorrow. But I have a little spare time in the evening. I got about an hour, and then I got to go put up a shelf for my wife. My wife wants to put up a shelf, and so I don't know. That could be a 5-minute job or a 3-hour adventure into drywall management. I'm not really sure, but so yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, today we're going to talk about, I have a track here. In my little fly strip of inspiration, I've caught a fly here. I feel like I've put together something that I'm fairly happy with here. I always stick to minimalism. I really do believe that the less is better. Even if you think about, back in the day, things were recorded with 4 tracks. Some of the greatest albums ever made were recorded with 4 tracks. 2 tracks, even a mono track. Look at this thing. Look at that thing. That's what the some of the early Beatles albums were recorded on, and boy, they sure. What DAW were they using? Geez. Here's the thing: is I believe that fewer tracks really focus on each individual track. Kind of get each track right. What I see going on a lot is people having 30 million tracks, and it's just like I don't know how you can. I guess it kind of caters to the short attention span that is going on now with the younger generations. But I honestly think that you should have maybe 6 or 7, 8 tracks. Not counting the drum bus. The drum bus should have anywhere from 4 to 6 tracks. I'm a big bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, maybe open hi-hat or ride cymbal, maybe a couple of accent auxiliaries in your drum bus for some different sounds. But that, your bass, your lead, maybe an arpeggio or something, and then maybe your vocal chain. That's also a bus, but don't. I've always stuck to like probably 8 tracks. Well, probably less than 8 tracks, not counting the drum bus and maybe the vocal bus when I'm going to do some vox and whatnot. And then I also have send and return effects. I like to use send and return as opposed to inserts just because it's a good way to kind of blend all your tracks together and give you a kind of a thicker, full sound. Anyway, I'm going to quit babbling. Let's go ahead and play this track here. We're going to play it from the beginning. This track has some problems, and you're probably going to hear them. But we'll play through this. And then we'll talk about what I think is issues with this particular track. All right, here we go.
Criminal alive. And the best way to combat the evil is at the source. The most dangerous criminal alive. And the best way to combat the evil is at the source. The most dangerous criminal alive. The best way to combat the evil is at the source. The most dangerous criminal alive. And the best way to combat the evil is at the source. And the best way to combat the evil is at the source. best way to combat the evil is at the source. And the best way to combat the evil is at the source. And the best way to combat the evil is at the source.
The most dangerous criminal alive. 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 The most dangerous criminal alive.
So there it is. There's the track, and the thing is this track. You know, there's a couple of problems. You know, that I hear. First off, there's a little bit of redundancy that occurs in this section here with this sample repeating over and over and no elements are being introduced. Also, this arpeggio has problems. It's just, I'm going to have to dig into that and figure that out. And then we have, of course, this end part, which is kind of the skipping record kind of effect where, you know, you can see that snare drum is we have a little offbeat there every couple of bars, and what we've done is we've basically repeated just the offbeat part, and then we've repeated this sample over and over, kind of the skipping record effect, and it's just supposed to kind of grind home the point, I guess. Some could say this song is a little political. All right, but you know, this is what I call this is something I feel like I can put in a folder. I can give it a title. All right, so let's start at the top. First off, we have a drum bus. We have a sample bus, and then we have an arpeggio and an 808 there at the end, and that's pretty much all we have. So we have 5 tracks here. Now, something that I tend to do quite a bit is I tend to put together my parts here in the actual clip launcher, the horizontal clip launcher. Of course, if you open this up, you can see all these parts here. And this is kind of where I construct a lot of the sound design, basically. Like, this is where I put my MIDI notes in. So right here, these are my drum parts. So you got the kick, the hat, the snare, and the ride. Very straightforward, very, very simple. Let's go ahead and play that kick drum here. You can see I got the 1 and the 2 and the 4, but I'm skipping the 3. And you know, so it's kind of an off-tilt rhythm. And then the hi-hat is a very kind of a shaky pattern, and this is also going through a delay. And I also have quite a bit of variation going on with the velocity. And you can hear that it's going through a delay there. And then we have the snare drum. Now the thing with the snare drum is we got the 2 and the 4 here. Then we have the 2, and then instead of the 4, you're waiting for it, but it happens a 16th note later, and then you have a double up. So this is, if you just listen to the snare line by itself, it sounds like a little corrupt and a little crazy. But when you listen to it, the entire drum, listen to it, together with the kick drum, it makes sense. And to me, that snare drum, that last the second two of the four of the second bar, being preempted by a 16th note and then doubled up is kind of like, to me, is kind of the hook of the whole rhythm. And then you have the ride cymbal, which is late. It's behind the beat. It's happening on the three of each quarter note. So these are 16th notes. So it's happening on the third 16th note, which is pretty unique. Another thing to notice about this is no shuffle. We are not using shuffle. Also, everything is on the grid. Let's go ahead and play this drum pattern together. So you can hear that there's no shuffle whatsoever. Let's go ahead and put the shuffle in and see what happens to this. I don't know about you, but I like it much better without the shuffle. So don't always pile shuffle onto your beats, because I tend to do that. I tend to go off the grid. I tend to add shuffle. Because I don't like stuff on the grid, but in certain types of songs, it actually works right on the grid with no shuffle. Now the bass line is super straightforward. I mean, it's literally four notes. And like I say, I feel like a broken record when I say minimalism is king, but really what you're working on is it's a combination of sound design and putting the MIDI notes in the right place. These drums, for example, you can see that I have what looks like a sampler and a kick drum, but this is a multi-sample. So if you open this up, it looks like one sample, but actually this is layered. This is three hitting at the same time, You can see there's three samples hitting simultaneously here. Okay, and you can see right down here on the gain level, this is -8, this is -4, and this is plus 1.2 dB. So what I've done is I've basically found three kick drums that I like, put them together, blended them into something that I really just like the sound of. And that's the kick drum there. Now, I did the exact same thing with the hi-hats here. But what I did with the hi-hats is I created a velocity layer, okay? And so earlier I showed you that those hi-hats are different velocities. And so they're actually triggering different samples based on that velocity. Let's go ahead and play this hi-hat layer, and you'll see what I mean. And the idea here is you're getting variation. And I know I just said earlier, I'm not a big fan of inserts, but the one effect that I find myself using on an insert more than on a send and return is delay. Delay to me is something that's very specific to, in this case, hi-hats, or sometimes plucks or something. But it's something you're probably only going to use on that particular instrument. And so delay, which normally is used as a send effect, I find myself using delay as an insert. And I'm using it here on the hi-hats to add a little extra, 28% mix. If you haven't checked out the Valhalla delay, it's a really good delay line. I actually really, really like this delay. It's kind of becoming my main delay. But you can see we've created variation there in the hi-hats, just like you would if a human were to play a hi-hat. They wouldn't hit at the exact same velocity, the same sample. As far as the snare drum, same type of thing here. We have layering going on here. We have 3 different snare drums. We have a tight snare, a couple of tight snares, and a hip-hop snare. And then, of course, we have, all these are 0 dB. There's plus 7 dB. And then there's minus 2.6 dB. So again, we've taken 3 snares and we've blended them together. Layering is key. And then the ride cymbal's pretty much just the one sample, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's just the one sample there. But you can see now, normally what I would do and what I've done in the past, I've used the drum cube and put all my MIDI for the entire drum loop on the same MIDI clip, in the same MIDI clip. But what I've actually done with this is I've put them on separate tracks. That way I can process them all separate and really give it, it's a true bus. I just basically group them, and that's my drum bus. But normally with the drum cube or the drum machine or whatever they call it here in Bitwig, these are automatically bussed, and then you drop these multi-samples into individual, partitions inside that cube. And that's a really good way to do it because you can see all your MIDI in the same clip. You can kind of design your drum pattern in the same MIDI clip, and that's pretty handy. That's nice. But I've actually been doing it this way, and I actually like it. Now, what you can do is you can change the color of these. Hit that scene 1 there, and then now you can actually see, all your drums in the same clip together. So yeah, you do have the option if you want to use that technique. But for me, I tend to kind of keep these all the same color. To me, it looks organized. I like that. It's a good look to me. So yeah, that's the drum bus there. And then let's go ahead and look at the bass here. Now the bass is the pigments. We're gonna actually probably do a video on pigments. Pigments, if you don't have Splice, check out splice.com. Pigments right now, you can own this synthesizer for $9 a month. Normally I don't know how much this synthesizer is, but it's a really, really good synth. What I like about it is I instantly go to initial and I initialize the patch, and it is a really, really, not only a fun synth to program, but it's a very intuitive synthesizer to program patches on. And the filters are to die for. So I highly recommend this synth. And so that's Pigments, so definitely check that out. Pretty much every channel I put a note pitch shifter on. I put the the instrument, and then I've been using the Chef's Omni channel. I got this for $29 during the holidays, and this is an absolute to die for plugin. It's a channel strip with good, what I call good starting presets. You have a crap load of presets in here, and what I do is I tend to find something that will kind of work for that particular track, and then I make adjustments. I'm a huge fan of, as far as channel strips go, of using presets, but then adjusting those presets to your sound, as opposed to starting from scratch and trying to EQ and compress whatever instrument it is. I use the presets, which are named for the instruments, And I admit I do use presets for certain things. Presets are something, in my opinion, you shouldn't use all the time for everything, but you should use sparingly. And my favorite thing to do, as far as a lot of effects, or especially channel strip type of effects, is to find a preset that's in the ballpark and then tweak it slightly so it really fits just perfect. And so that's what we've done here with the Chef's Only channel. And then also we can use the side chain also, which we've done that. We've used the external side chain, and we're going to have a video that shows you how to do that. And then we have the DBX 160, which is another plugin by Waves. And the thing that I love Waves. Waves is probably my favorite. Most of my plugins are Waves. What I love about Waves is these plugins, which are normally a couple $100 a pop. They all go on sale eventually for $29. You got to subscribe to their mailing list, and what they'll do is they'll give you a 48-hour, like they'll email you whenever it's like, this plugin's $29 for the next 48 hours. And so hopefully you have the money, and once in a while it lines up with payday, and I'm able to get this totally dreamy compressor. This is the stereo version. You'll notice that I'm using stereo plugins on the bass. That's because this bass is meant to be kind of wide. Normally you want to put your bass on mono, but this particular bass is a very full bass. This particular genre, my drone hop I'm calling it, has a stereo bass. And so this DBX is just, it's just a really, really chunky compressor that I find myself using on all my bass patches. So between the Chefs and the DBX 160 and the Pigments, that's my bass sound for the track right there. And so that's basically gives me my bass sound. It's the Pigments, the Chefs, and the DBX 160. And then, of course, we have the bass also going through some send and return effects, also the axe and the verb. So we actually have the bass guitar going through a reverb, which is quite unusual. So, yeah, that's what we got.
The most dangerous criminal alive.
And the best way to combat the evil is at the source.
The most dangerous criminal.
Okay, so for me, the problem is there's definitely a problem with this arpeggio patch here. What we've done is we've basically, I don't want to say we've played this in, but we definitely have different velocities going on here. And so let's listen to this ARP and listen kind of to what's going on to it, because there's problems, you know. Okay, so what we have is we have Cthulhu, that's arpeggio, and then we have +2 on our pitch, so we're bringing it up a couple octaves, and then we have Hive. Of course, we have the Chefs again, Chef's stereo, old piano preset with a little extra compression. We have the Hive 2. Okay, the Hive 2, here's the thing. Yuhi's one of my favorite synth companies as far as the VST synthesizers. I love the Yuhi synths. To be totally honest with you, I actually miss Hive 1.2, I think it was. Once they added the wavetable synthesis to Hive, I actually prefer that to the new Hive. I mean, the new Hive, I guess it's still growing on me, but I actually prefer the old Hive, to be honest with you. But I mean, this is a good synth still. You know, it's got a lot of. You know, it's got a lot of good presets and stuff in there. Just a shitload of presets. So it's, you know, it's definitely a very useful synth. Let me put it that way. All right, but as far as, I think where the problem is with this Cthulhu, I can sense that there's some swing going on here with this. Let's make this a little bit bigger if we can. Can we make this bigger? 200. There we go. Ah, yeah. Make the Cthulhu huge. Cthulhu is one of those plugins. If you don't have it, you need it. It's a very powerful plugin. To me, this is kind of a, if you kind of get some writer's block or something, this is a very good plugin for writer's block. It's good for, what I'll do is I'll just throw some stuff in here, and a lot of times I'll get inspiration from just, from Cthulhu, Basically, you can make your chords down here. You got your chords, chord sets, and then you also have an arpeggio. You can use one or the other or both. This particular patch is the red sound, hot chords, scared to be lonely, C sharp minor. Why is it C sharp minor? That's the problem right there. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Chill Computer Guy here. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Comment below. It's been jam and rant, just kind of jam, just kind of rant a little bit. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Remember, these tutorials are not for beginners or experts. They're for everybody. Kind of got lost in the song here, so hopefully you enjoyed watching that. My #1 goal is to inspire you, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Comment below, and we'll see you guys again. Bye-bye now.